Hello, I'm the Cartographer, and this is the 6th video in my other great game series, and this is covering Satisfactory. It's in early access, and I'm also currently playing on the experimental build. So it's basically the most up-to-date version outside of the development build that the developers themselves are working with. Effectively, if you're looking for a pitch for this game, think Factorio in 3D. Now, if you don't know what Factorio is, it's a top-down game where you're building a factory to launch a ship to get off the planet. Now, in this case, there is currently no actual end game to it, because again, it's still in development. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it. They're working on a story right now that might somehow tie into the end game. I don't know, but regardless, I don't really care because the game is just amazing as it is. Why don't we go ahead and we load up a new game here? And I'll just pick this one here, and I'll go ahead and call it example, and let's start it. Alright, so this is how the whole thing starts. You're in drop pod.
Attention Pioneer. The following instructional video is a summary of your impending duties as an exoplanetary pioneer for Fixit Incorporated. Fixit Pioneers have 3 cyclical assigned pillars of work to ultimately accomplish project assembly. Use provided blueprints to build the necessary buildings. Chart the planet and gather resources to provide desired results and improve your infrastructure. Make sure to report any unusual discoveries to R&D for analysis. Expand your factories, outposts, and pipelines through automation and augmentation. That's it. Get to work and be effective.
Okay, and now we will just jump to when we're down on the planet surface.
Please remain suit is at 100%. Remember, efficiency first. Godspeed.
And so here we are in the plains, forest? I don't remember what the name of the area is. I think it actually popped up right at the very beginning. But anyway, it's this nice environment here. This is entirely handcrafted. They don't do... There we go. Just wanted to get past that. They don't do, what's it called? Procedural generation. They guide you through the whole process here with this tutorial, but it's not something that I actually need to show you because I've done it before. We do have to dismantle this pod here. And then along with that, I can show you just the basic little things we can do here. Where we can pick up leaves, flowers, stuff like that. Open the codex, okay.
Second objective. Please ensure you have your Fixit Incorporated Xenozapper equipped before leaving the drop zone.
There we go.
Note,
that's for fighting aliens.
According to Fixit regulations, every pioneer should have access to a means of defense against extraterrestrial threats.
Okay. So...
Third objective. Please familiarize yourself with the resource scanner to find iron.
There we go.
Note,
finding iron.
The acquisition of iron is considered essential in preparation for all future objectives.
So there's some iron right over here. And I'll just show you the very basics of starting this stuff up here. So we'll go over here. And you have an iron node. Now this node of iron is completely... Oop, there's an alien. This node of iron is completely infinite. If we were to mine it, it would just continue to keep providing forever. So that's different from Factorio, where Factorio you have to keep finding new bits of materials. You have to keep finding new loads of iron, new loads of copper, all that kind of stuff. In this case, no. We actually have a permanent source of material, and that allows you to build the factories the way you want them around this source and basically perfect it to where it's producing exactly what you want it to make. Now, you can see here that it says normal there after it says iron ore. That's telling you the quality of this load of ore right here. There's also impure and pure, and depending on the quality of it, you're going to get a different rate of material extraction from it. Basically, just think about it like it's really, in this case, it's normal ore, and pure ore is going to have half the amount of iron in it and twice the amount of rock. So you're just going to have to basically throw that rock away. Now, you're not actually having to do anything with that rock, so don't worry about that. You're just getting less iron out of it. So at the very beginning, you just have to start all this stuff, building things by hand, effectively. And in fact, throughout the game, you're building everything by hand. They don't have drones. And well, they do have drones, but they're not construction drones like Factorio has.
Hub feature, manual craft
Okay, so you
bench.
can see here that
Hub
we have
feature,
this
hub
milestone of
terminal.
technology. And in this case, they
Hub
want us...
objective.
Okay, quiet. They need us to bring 10 iron rods. So in the very beginning, you're going to just have to come over here, make yourself some iron ingots. Okay, and make then your 10 iron rods. So yeah, it's a little slow when you start things out. We go here, hub upgrade, select the milestone, drop them in there, and we're good to go. So you can see this thing just got upgraded. We now got a little personal storage box, and along with that, we got new technologies. And so when you start things out
You have
here,
unlocked-
we're going to start by basically building little personal miners, little individual robots. In fact, I think I can actually build one of those right now so I can show you. Actually, but I have to build, yes, an equipment workshop, which means I have to have some iron plates first. Then we're going to need 6 iron plates and some iron rods, but I don't remember exactly how many of those. Hopefully that we have enough there. Yes. Okay, and we're going to harvest some more iron by hand, but what we're going to be able to build here is this portable miner. So I'm going to get a little bit more iron, and you can either mine it directly from this, but that's pretty slow, or you can get it from this. And again, these things right here will break down, but you can notice here every time I hit that thing I was getting 5 or 6 out of it, versus 2 mining directly from that. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some more iron. Well, that's enough for now. Okay. And now we take this and we build ourselves a portable miner. Okay. Now we equip the portable miner. And we head over here and we drop it on top of this. And it's going to start harvesting ore for us immediately. You don't have to fuel it or anything, it just goes. Now, it will fill itself up, and it doesn't offload immediately to anything else, so you have to keep coming back to pick it up. But, by the same token, you no longer have to mine iron. And that's the name of the game here, is automating away tasks that are mundane. Basically, you've seen how I've been handcrafting the iron ingots. Effectively, what you start getting is things like furnaces, and then you start actually having to power things. And so at that point, you're going to start, well, how about we do this one next little tech level here, and that should be good. So let's go check and see if that's got some more iron for us already. And you could, of course, always build more of these things. And in fact, you're going to be building more of those things. Because even once you actually start building automated miners that mine things with electricity, you're going to have to provide them with a mining drill. And that comes from those portable miners. Okay, let's just make 20. And I can't actually remember how many we need exactly for this milestone here. 20 rods, 10 plates. And we have 2 rods, so we can make 18 of these. Hopefully I can cut this off at the right time. Okay, did I? Yes, okay. And I already forgot the number of plates that I need. How many was it? 10? Yes. There we go. Okay. There we go. You can see we got a serious upgrade to the hub here, which includes a power generator. Now this is biomass burner.
Congratulations.
We throw
You have
biomass
unlocked
into
hub
it.
Feature, biomass burner. Scanner feature, copper. New buildings and recipes.
And you can see that we can now
which
scan
be
for
found in
copper
the build
along with
menu
iron.
and craft
But I think
bench,
that'll do it for
respectively.
now, just showing you the early stuff. Basically, now that we
Seventh
find
objective.
copper, we have to go get copper to make wire, and we start actually setting up electrical connections. But I'm going to show you the end state of where you get with all this. Okay. Here we go. And this is my factory as it is. Now, I know my factory is not the neatest thing in the world. But at the same time, I do like it. I mean, at some point I might tear it down and do something a little bit different. I'm currently using a hover pack, by the way. One of the best additions to the game is the hover pack. Basically, so long as you're close to an electrical connection, you are using the base's power to hover in the air above it. So I can show you real quick where we were just a minute ago. And that's actually inside my reinforced plate factory here. Okay. And again, this is not horribly well organized, but this is the node of iron that I was just mining in order to get the stuff together to make plates. And you can see from the fact that things are yellow occasionally here that things aren't running 100% efficiently. In fact, we can take a look at this and see that it's actually only running at 50% efficiency right now, so at some point I might have to come back and look into fixing that. Basically, I'm currently at the last level of tech that's currently available in the early access. At some point they might add higher levels. I actually don't know exactly what the future plans are with that kind of stuff. That present over there that's dropping, that's because of the Christmas event. But you can see I've got a reinforced plate factory there, a rotor factory up there, a copper wire and copper cable factory, a iron plate factory, screw factory. All the way over there, that's the modular frame factory. Over there, that is, well, that used to be the steel mill, but I'm currently in the process of reworking that. A couple of train stations here. I'm not terribly advanced with the trains, but I do have a couple trains running. And again, not horribly efficiently, but they're still doing something. Particle accelerator right here. We got the supercomputer factory over there, the rotor factory. That's the screw factory. The AI manager thing or whatever. Cooling system, heat sinks. These are drones. These drones are currently bringing me aluminum casings and things like that. Oh, looks like this one. Okay, that one is landing. Over there, that is manufacturing copper dust, which is running all into the particle accelerator to make something called nuclear pasta, which is part of this final tier thing. That's the space elevator. The whole goal here basically is to advance tech levels. And so what I ended up doing over here was every single time you... we were at tech level 0, if you remember when I just showed you with us starting up. Well, if we come over here, there's the terminal. You have to load all these materials in there, then it sends them up the space elevator into space, and you get the next level of tech. Now, in this case, we're only getting Employee of the Planet as our title here, but, I mean, you know, it's something you can try to get to, but I was looking at it, and it was something like it was going to take me like 1,000 hours at my current production rates, so I was basically thinking, you know what, I'll play another game until they add some more content, because I could either go around adding new factory parts to increase my rate of production, or I could simply just let things go for the moment. Now that train is running off to go pick up some oil products, in this case rubber and plastic, which are running in here to go to my heavy modular frame factory. And then also it gets fed into a whole bunch of other stuff, the electromagnetic control rods there, the high-speed connectors, motors, the turbo motors there. I have the amount that these things produce per minute on the side of them. I've got a little tiny nuclear fuel production plant over there, but it was really basically just an experimental process over there. This is a coal power plant. And so at the beginning I showed you the biomass burners. I actually think I still have a few of those over here. And in fact, there's the hub. That was that structure we were building by adding stuff to it. These are the biomass burners. I mean, yes, they're hooked up, but they're not actually doing anything. My power is kind of fluctuating like crazy because I'm currently adding a bunch of power to it. In fact, why don't I go ahead and show you that? Well, actually, first, alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for... No, you know what? I'm not going to wait for the train. Instead, we're going to take the hypertube because I want to show you how that whole system works. Now, these belts are coming in from my steel mill, and you can see from the fact that things are not really moving on them right now that things are not 100% efficient here. But I don't really care about that so long as I've got materials when I need them. Over here, I'll show you this real quick. My brother-in-law built this skate park. And yeah, you can play this multiplayer. And so these little little factory carts, they can get going pretty fast. And then you can do jumps. And they flip all over the place. But again, it's pretty fun. Okay, that'll do for now for that, but let's go ahead and hit the hypertube. This is a pretty cool little transportation system that they for a long time, but anyway. Okay, so you can see that I've built up this area here where the train's running through. Got again these belts coming over from the steel mill, the rotor factory there again. This is providing iron to the rotor factory, as is that right there. Now, we're going over the hill into what is called, by a lot of folks at least that I've seen, the coal hole. And that's because it's an area where you can find a large amount of coal, and there's also water, so it's the perfect power production station in terms of a coal plant, and I've done a lot of work to make that happen. Now, I've seen some beautiful designs. I personally like my own here, but, you know, it is what it is. Some people have made them where they're like a single tall tower structure, or radially built to where they're all facing outward. It's something like that. But if we go over here, I can take a look. You can see that I've got all these coal generators here, all of them being fed by these 4 different coal miners. And then there you can see Coal Hole Power Station producing 4,800 megawatts of power. And then along with that, again, the steel mill is up there at the top of that. You could either take the hypertube or take the really ridiculously long staircase. There comes the train with plastic and rubber on board. Let's go ahead and get to the other hypertube. There it is. Alright, so now we're going to ride this thing out here. And I'm probably going to cut out a section of this because this is a long one. Okay, there's more drone ports right there. This coal hole area right here, I've got quartz running into it. The quartz is, I got an optical bug going on here at the moment. I've had that happen occasionally, but anyway. Quartz is coming in here. It's being turned into silica, so effectively sand. And along with that, there's also crushed quartz. The crushed quartz is being shipped back to the main base to be used to make some sort of electronic equipment. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then along with that, the silica is actually being shipped to the top of a mountain nearby where we're mining aluminum, and it's being used there to refine the aluminum into aluminum bars, and those aluminum bars are then being shipped back to the home base to being used to be making alclad aluminum plating. But anyway, so yeah, I built this whole train line here through the jungle, along with the hypertube connection, to make it so you can just go solo across this thing. The train is way faster, but again, I just wanted to show you how the hypertube systems work. Alright, here we go. Coming out to the Trojan power station. And plastic and rubber manufacturing. So I call it Trojan. Because originally we were just making rubber and fuel here. So Trojan Energy Power Station 1, currently producing 7,800 megawatts of power, 120 rubber, and 320 plastic per minute. And you can see all these fuel generators here that are using the fuel that's being produced from these oil wells through all these refineries. And this runs all to the main base and beyond. And so why don't we head over to the train station and we will ride the train back. Up there at the top of the mountain over there is where we're currently mining aluminum. Well, that's one of the spots where we're currently mining aluminum. I'm going in and out of power here, so I'm going to drop down on top of this belt. And we're going to just run along the top of the belt using the additional speed that we get from the belt. Okay, and now we'll just wait for the train for a minute. Alright, there's the train. Okay, so it'll stop here. It'll load up with plastic and rubber, and then we'll be back on our way. I think they did amazing work with the animations in this. Really, this game is amazing to me because of the draw distance. I mean, look how far... So it freezes every once in a while, and that's because it's doing an autosave. So it's a little annoying, but at the same time, I want it doing that because I don't want to have some sort of crash happen. Now, honestly, I've had amazing stability with this game as well, given that it's in early access. At some point, I'm going to do another one of these other great games on Valheim. So, I forgot to mention at the beginning, this is made by Coffee Stain Studios and published by Coffee Stain Publishing. Now, Valheim, which is made by Iron Gate, is also published by Coffee Stain Publishing. So I'm just going to say right off the bat, everything I've come in contact with Coffee Stain has been beautiful. Like, they've done amazing work on stability on these games. Anyway, why don't we just go ahead and ride this train, and we'll take this all the way back to the main base. Again, passing through the coal hole here. Got a little biomass factory there on the ground, where I convert leaves and logs into solid biomass. And I even have in the past made a liquid biomass, or liquid biofuel factory, but it's just not worth it because I'm manufacturing so much in the way of fuel. And plus you can use biomass in your chainsaw when you're cutting down the local foliage. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and leave this train behind. And we're going to head over to the other train station. There are some more biomass burners there. They're basically, they've been here as backup. They haven't, I don't think they've been used in frickin' forever. You can see here that current consumption is in orange, maximum consumption is in blue, and current production, or capacity effectively, is right up here in this gray line, and that's also production. Now, it's not actually exactly the same because capacity also includes these biomass burners, but like I said, they have not been on in forever. So while those things look like they're burning, they're not. They actually just are sitting there idle. Now, the power demands being what they are at this factory, if things were to ever go down, there's no way that those biomass burners would ever be able to handle the additional load. But I don't really feel like messing with those things at the moment, so we're going to leave them be. And you know what? I don't see the train yet, so we're just going to follow this line for a minute and head out this way. Like I said, manufacturing copper dust to be turned into nuclear pasta over there. That right there is the iron rod factory that ships the iron rods back to the main base to be turned into screws, and also to be used in other things. There's the belt carrying coal from this coal mine up there on the top of that hill to the coal power plants back there. I was originally, there was, like I said before, there was a steel mill right over there. I ended up converting it because I was going to tear it down and turn it into a motor factory, but I realized that I actually did not have the production recipes that I needed to make it work with the resources that were available in the area. And there are alternative recipes to manufacture things. So, for example, instead of manufacturing... So the way you manufacture rotors when you start the game is with... Well, not when you start the game, but when you originally get the technology, is with iron rods and screws. Now, you make screws from iron rods. And so then you combine those two things and you make a rotor. Now there are alternative recipes for things like copper rotors, where you make copper sheets and then you use the copper sheets and I think screws as well. Anyway, and basically there's also a steel rotor, I believe. So there are all these different ways to manufacture the same parts, and you can use ones that correspond to the available resources in the area. This is kind of terrifying, by the way. And so, depending on the resources you have available and the recipes that you have available, you can do a whole bunch of different stuff. Now, the recipes you get by hunting down crashed drones, or drop pods, I believe it actually is what they're supposed to be. And these drop pods have hard drives in them. You research the hard drives, and researching the hard drives gives you the ability to get these alternative recipes. And so for that copper rotor, for example, there's also something called steamed copper sheets. And it's kind of, I mean, it's dumb, don't get me wrong. That doesn't make any sense, but you build a refinery and you feed it copper ore and water, and it produces copper sheets at a higher rate than if you were just to convert the copper ore into copper ingots and then turn the copper ingots into copper sheets. This train station over here is actually frequented by two different trains, and it looks like the other train, the train we need to catch, is leaving the station right now, so let's go ahead and catch it. Now, the reason that this train comes over here is because there's an ammonia, or not an ammonia, but a nitrogen well. There we go. There's a nitrogen gas well back there that we're currently using to bring nitrogen to the main base so it can be used to make cooling systems, and it's also being brought out here to this other base because we're using it to make nitric acid. Now, that right there is a radio tower. You use those to expand the view of the map, and I haven't even showed you the map yet. And this is how much I've explored of the map so far. So you can see the coastal oil station out here, the main base down here, the coal hole right there, and we are heading out here to this base now. And this base is where I've started manufacturing batteries, mainly so I could basically run drones around the plant. And then along with that, I'm using it now as my nuclear fuel station, my nuclear power station, sorry. I'm going to show you this thing, and at the very end of the video, I'm also going to show you the crazy diagrams that I created in order to make it so that I could properly plan out this factory up here. Now out here we're doing things like mining coal, and you can see there are different biomes all over the map. You got different enemies. You saw that one enemy at the beginning. That's really one of the simplest enemies you can find. There are also spitter enemies. These enemies that are like bees that like break out and they start chasing you around. Okay, so again, this started out as the battery factory here. And I'm just gonna jump out of this thing here. And you can see there I'm producing aluminum casings. I'm bringing quartz around the rim of this canyon here, or this swamp I should say, and I'm using that to make silica. The silica is being used to make aluminum and aluminum casings. I'm also manufacturing iodine filters for my environmental hazard suit, and I'll show you why I need that here in just a second. Now we're also again manufacturing nitric acid down there. Right over here we're manufacturing sulfuric acid using sulfur that's mined up there, along with water that's pumped out right here. And we're using that sulfuric acid along with uranium that is found in this cave to make encased uranium cells. So I'm going to drop down here. I'm going to go ahead. Do I have my hazmat suit? Yes, I do. Okay, and do I have any... Yes, I got filters as well. Okay, so I'm going to put on the suit. Now I can't hover, but I will also not die of radiation poisoning in here. So we come down here, and I marked off with paint because they added the ability to paint. I marked off on the floor where the radiation is, and I actually need to expand it a little bit, it looks like. Yeah, because the radiation's now out to about here. So I'll have to expand that at some point. So you can see the filter is being burned through on the hazmat suit. That little meter over there is going to start dropping quickly as we get closer and closer to the actual uranium mine itself as the radiation level increases. This is weird that this isn't operating 100% efficiently. I'm not sure why that's the case, honestly. Anyway, though, these things are taking the uranium. These blenders are taking uranium, concrete, and sulfuric acid and producing these encased uranium cells. I think we've seen enough of this little area in here. So why don't we go ahead and head back out. Okay. Now that we've got that, we can leave this behind. Now, strangely, these things are so, despite the fact of the amount of radiation that was in there, these things are so low in radiation that you can sit right next to them with no issues. Okay, so the rest of this swamp, though, I've turned into a massive nuclear fuel manufacturing center. And then you can see the nuclear reactors actually out there in the distance. So let's head out this way. So, I'll bring you over there in a little while, but I am producing nitric acid over there. So we got geothermal power right here from these hot springs. That's what these things are right here, these massive geothermal power stations. Now if we come over here, you can see that I've actually built, in this case, a small steel mill. You can see that we're producing iron beams, rotors, encased iron beams, iron plates. You can see wire running over from this where they're manufacturing copper. And then right over here, we're manufacturing, electromagnetic control rods, and the electromagnetic control rods, along with the encased industrial beams and the encased uranium cells, are being used to manufacture uranium fuel rods. Now the uranium fuel rods, like this one right here, get on this belt and head across this barren stretch of swamp covered in poisonous gas out to my nuclear plant, which is currently, the reason the power graph was so janky looking, it's because this thing is slowly over time filling up with nuclear fuel. Now eventually these things will be running perfectly efficiently without any interruption to their service. You can see again that these things are coming out here, but it's one of those things where it fills up because I set this thing up in series rather than in parallel. So this will fill up, as you can see here. Then the next one fills up, and you can see I'm getting some radiation here. Then the next one fills up, then the next one fills up, then the next one fills up. And as they fill up, you can see that they produce this steam here, and they're producing a large amount of power in each one of these. I've got 20 nuclear reactors, one by one. They're filling up, and at that point, No interruption to service. They keep going. This one looks a little weird. Why is... Oh, I don't have the waste belt connected. Well, there you go. There goes that nuclear waste. Well, that was unfortunate. So that thing should actually start operating here in a minute, as it has room for the nuclear waste. Now, this is uranium waste, and this uranium waste has a purpose, and I will show that to you. Now, when they've been adding tech to the game constantly as time goes by. Real quick, I want to point out there's a massive fuel power plant out there as well. But originally, uranium waste, there was nothing you could do with it. It was just a constant source of radiation that would just start building up over time. But they added nuclear fuel reprocessing. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works over at my waste processing center. Okay, still following the waste around the belt here. This swamp was like amazingly inhospitable before I showed up here. And now we take the uranium waste. Oof, getting some damage there. And it gets reprocessed. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna just stay back because that is really radioactive. Because we're producing plutonium over there. So the uranium waste feeds into here and becomes non-fissile uranium. The non-fissile uranium, along with some additional uranium waste, goes into the particle accelerators, which then produces plutonium. Can't remember exactly what. Plutonium something. That stuff feeds into these right here, which then make these encased plutonium cells, which then feed back into these manufacturers, where it produces plutonium fuel rods. Oof, man. See how far you have to be away to not get radiation damage? Now, the plutonium fuel rod feeds right back into that, and that is called an awesome sink. Now, the awesome sink is something that they put into the game to where you can feed resources into this thing so that everything continues to run. And so you can see over here that I've actually got, I think, rubber. Yeah, rubber and fabric, was that? Fabric? Maybe just, hopefully just rubber, because I think fabric I still, oh, maybe it is running fabric off as well. Anyway, and what this is, and you can see the boost every single time it gets a plutonium rod, but it gives you these little coupons, and then the coupons you can use to, where is that? There it is, Awesome Shop. To buy stuff at the Awesome Shop. Okay, and so you can see that I've actually already bought everything here in the Awesome Shop. And so we get all these little customizations like concrete pillars and railings and stairs and catwalks and lighting and different types of walls and ways to pass windows. And if we come over here, we get different attachments like conveyor wall mounts, floor lift holes, hypertube holes for the floor, pipeline holes for the floor, different foundations. I've not bought all this stuff here, obviously. Customizer stuff, so they've added the ability to customize things, because everything used to effectively be like this kind of orange wall, but they've added the ability to make like different types of roofs, like this is like a tar roof right here, but along with that there's also metal roofs that you can put on, and so you buy those things with those coupons from the Awesome Sink. And in this case, so effectively there are two things you can do with plutonium fuel rods. You can either feed them into a nuclear reactor and get a ginormous amount of power, but at the same time you're producing plutonium waste, which has no use. You can't do anything with it, so it now has assumed the role that uranium waste used to have, and it can only be stored and then constantly build up radiation over time. But you can feed it into the Awesome Sink, get a massive number of points, get some coupons, and you don't have to worry about the waste. So that's what I've chosen to do here, and I think that really shows you a lot of Satisfactory here. Now there's a lot of exploration. Again, I showed you the map here. There's a whole area, like all this is filled in. There's land you could also go see. There's a desert here. There's like mesas and stuff like that up there. There's all kinds of stuff you can go see. The map is extensive, and you have to map it with things like that, or just going and actually seeing it personally. It's an amazing game. This game originally, it came out on, what's it called? The Epic Store. and I just wasn't sold on the Epic Store originally. I just wanted to buy everything on Steam because I was already tired of all the different platforms from Ubisoft and EA and all that stuff. I just didn't want another one I'd have to deal with. But luckily they launched it on Steam, where you can typically find it for $30 right now during the holiday sale, which is still going on for another 36 hours. You can buy it for $21. It's a great game to play with your friends, especially once you get to hover packs, because you get these bombs. I currently don't have any of the explosives on me, but this is called Nobelisk, and you can fly around and do bombing runs on hostile wildlife that are otherwise trying to kill you. It's just fun stuff to do. I cannot recommend this game enough. If you're into this kind of thing, this is an amazing, amazing game. And again, like I said, I recommend it. But why don't we go ahead and I'll just, as my last little thing here, I'll show you the charts that I developed in order to make it so that I can map out the process of building these things. Alright, so I don't know exactly how well you're going to be able to see this with the size that it is here, because I took a PDF and turned it into a PNG, and it was only, you know, first of all, these sheets are originally 11 by 17, and we're now actually about 8.5 by 11, and not only that, but they're oriented one on top of the other. So anyway, though, so the whole thing here, you can see at the top where I start with miners, and at the bottom right, you see that I actually manufacture a single plutonium fuel rod per minute. So it's not like each one of those manufacturers there, the 4 manufacturers, is producing 1 plutonium fuel rod. No, every 4 minutes, one of those things gets the ability to manufacture one, and it takes it, I think it actually takes it 4 minutes to manufacture one. So that was my goal, make 1 plutonium fuel rod, and this is the overall process required to make that happen, including the 20 nuclear reactors to make all of that uranium waste, which has to be reprocessed into those plutonium fuel rods. Anyway, again, this game is amazing, and I love it. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes in the future. Alright, well that'll do it for Other Great Game 6, Satisfactory. This has been the Resolute Cartographer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.